Thank you for listening to a nighttime adventure bedtime story from nighttimeadventures.com. Visit our website to view hundreds of exciting bedtime stories for children of all ages.
The Nighttime Adventures of Miko, the Dragon Race and the Magic Crystals. Miko the adventurous cat had a secret. Every night when he fell asleep, he found himself transported to a magical world full of wonder and excitement. And tonight was no different. Miko found himself in a magical old-timey kingdom. He wandered through the kingdom until he stumbled upon a crowd of people gathered around a racecourse. Miko was curious, so he asked one of the people what was happening. To his surprise, he learned that he was about to participate in a dragon race. Miko climbed aboard his dragon, a magnificent creature with shimmering green scales and piercing blue eyes. Its wings were as big as the castle turrets, and its tail was long and strong. As the starting bell rang out, the dragons took off into the sky, their wings beating against the air. Miko's dragon was quick on its feet, dodging and weaving around obstacles that popped up in their path. The race was full of excitement and thrills. They flew through a maze of arches, dove through a tunnel, and even had to duck under a low-hanging tree branch. Miko clung onto the dragon's back, feeling the rush of wind in his fur. As they soared above the kingdom, Miko and his dragon found themselves flying through a narrow tunnel. The tunnel was so tight that they had to fold their wings and to avoid hitting the walls. Miko felt his heart racing as they emerged from the tunnel unscathed. The racecourse was full of obstacles that were testing the skill of both the dragons and their riders. Suddenly, a giant boulder appeared in front of them. Miko's dragon quickly swerved to the side, but one of the other dragons crashed into the boulder, sending it tumbling down toward Miko and his dragon. Miko's dragon didn't hesitate. It breathed out a jet of blue fire, melting the boulder into a harmless puddle of lava. Miko and his dragon flew ahead, unscathed. The next challenge was a low-hanging tree branch. Miko's dragon was so quick that they barely had to duck to avoid it. They were neck and neck with the other dragons and were determined to win the race. As they approached the halfway point, they found themselves flying through a vortex of wind. The wind was so strong that it was almost impossible to stay on course. Miko and his dragon battled against the wind, flying as fast as they could to stay on track. They finally made it through the vortex and found themselves soaring through a maze of arches. The arches were so close together that they could barely fit through them. Miko's dragon used its agility to weave in and out of the arches, gaining speed with every turn. As they approached the final stretch, Miko could see the finish line in the distance, but the other dragons were gaining on them. Suddenly, a wall of fire appeared in front of them, blocking their way. Miko's dragon didn't slow down. It breathed out a jet of cool, blue fire, extinguishing the wall and clearing the path to the finish line. They zoomed through, coming in first place with a triumphant roar. The crowd cheered and clapped, congratulating Miko and his dragon on a race well run. Miko felt a sense of pride and excitement. He couldn't wait to see where his next adventure would take him. As he looked around the kingdom, he noticed that it was full of magical creatures like unicorns, fairies, and dragons. He decided to take a walk and explore the area. Miko stumbled upon a group of fairies who were in need of help. They explained that a wicked witch had taken away their magical crystals, and they needed them to bring light to their village. Miko decided to help the fairies. He climbed aboard his dragon and took to the sky, searching for the witch's castle. They flew over mountains and through valleys until they finally saw the castle in the distance. It was dark and foreboding, but Miko knew that he had to be brave if he was going to help the fairies. As they approached the castle, they could see the witch standing on the battlements, cackling with glee. She had placed the crystals on top of the highest tower, knowing that nobody could reach them, but Miko wasn't going to give up that easily. He and his dragon soared toward the tower, dodging the witch's spells and curses. Miko used his quick wit and problem-solving skills to devise a plan. He instructed his dragon to create a diversion, breathing out a jet of blue fire that distracted the witch. While the witch was distracted, Miko climbed the tower using his sharp claws. It was a dangerous climb, but Miko was determined to help the fairies. When he reached the top of the tower, he found the crystals glimmering in the moonlight. He carefully picked them up and started to make his way back down, but the witch had seen him and was waiting for him at the bottom of the tower. Miko's dragon breathed out a jet of blue fire, melting the witch's broomstick and sending her tumbling to the ground. Miko and his dragon flew back to the fairies' village, where they were greeted with cheers and applause. The fairies thanked Miko for his bravery and gave him a magical crystal as a token of their gratitude. As the night drew to a close, Miko climbed back onto his dragon's back, ready for another adventure. He knew that there were endless possibilities in this magical world, and he was excited to see where his dreams would take him next. With a final wave to his new friends, Miko and his dragon soared off into the night sky, leaving behind a trail of sparks and magic. Miko knew that no matter where his adventures took him, he would always have his trusty dragon by his side. And with that thought, he drifted off to sleep, ready for the next exciting journey in his dreams.